Hi, it's Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and I'm bringing you a video uh, that was sort of spurred by an article that I read from PCGS just recently. And this is an article that was written or released on January 8th, 2025. It is about the period in U.S. coinage in the mid 60s where there were no mint marks. This is also the period where they had the special mint sets, but there's no mint marks on coins dated 1965 to 1967. So cents, nickels, dimes, quarters, and half dollars, no mint marks for dated coins 65 through 67. So this is a really good article that I would encourage you to read. I'm going to put this link in the description of this video. But let's get into it just a little bit more. The article does a really good job of going over the background and why this happened, and the background is that there was a coinage shortage that was evolving in about 1964, and the shortage um, may have had multiple causes, and certainly one cause or scapegoat was the coin collectors. That coin collecting was supposedly spiraling in the early 60s, spiraling upwards. And so a lot of coins are being taken out of circulation. There's also the issue that silver, the cost of or the value of a silver coin was more than the denomination. Um, and that presented problems for the mint as well as people pulling things out of circulation because of that. So there's a little bit of background, some interacting factors, but there was a coin shortage and resulted in a couple of acts, legislation that resulted in no mint marks from the period of 1965 through 1967. But as I read this article, I came to the very last sentence, and I'm going to sort of highlight it in this slide here. And it says that while this frustrates some collectors, those who know the story behind the fervent coin production of the mid 1960s at least know the history behind why the mint marks were temporarily abandoned. And the article does a really good job of covering that. So I encourage you reading this article. But it goes on to say, and why they, meaning the collectors, will never find the U.S. coins struck from 1965 through 1967 with a mint mark. There's a problem with that. The word struck. Now, if they said they'll never find a U.S. coin dated from 1965 through 1967 with a mint mark, that would be a true statement. But struck, no, it's not a true statement. And here is some more information about why that's incorrect. That one word makes that sentence, the last part of the sentence, incorrect. And I'm going to give you another link to another article from Numismatic News in the description of this video. I want you to read that one if you have time. It's a great article as well. It goes over some of the same background, but it gives a little bit more detail. For example, when this coin shortage was happening and they knew they were going to have to shift things around, they're in the process of evaluating copper nickel for the replace silver dimes, quarters, and half dollars, um, and with people pulling coins out of circulation because of the various issues I talked about. There was a bill, a date freeze bill, signed by President Johnson September 3rd, 1964. So towards the end of 1964, where they just said, nope, we're not going to produce any more silver coinage that's going to be dated anything but 1964. So if you look at the production, say from the Denver Mint, because there's a mint mark, a D mint mark, quarters, silver, 90% silver quarters with 1964D with a mint mark continued all the way until January 1966, and dimes until February 1966, and halves until April 1966, all dated 1964 with a mint mark. So if it's a Denver Mint, it's 1964D. Were produced all the way until very early 1966. Therefore, the struck part of that sentence was incorrect. If you wanted to say dated, they're correct in that because these are all dated 1964. But also what happens, the Coinage Act of 1965 became law July 23rd, 1965. And that act started the clad coinage for dimes, quarters, and halves to be commenced. And that started on August 23rd for quarters. Quarters were prioritized because of vending machines, etc. So the clad coinage started getting produced in the latter part of 1965, and these did not have mint marks. Okay, so this was the no mint mark 1965, 1966, 1967 clad coinage. All right, 1968, then mint marks were resumed. So what we have is a scenario where there's overlap. They're still producing silver. They're running off of their silver inventory and producing, but and that continued until 1966. So 1964D was produced all the way until 66. All right, for dimes, quarters, and halves for the 90% silver. All right, but in 65 they started producing clad coinage without a mint mark dated 65, 66, and 67. So there you have it. That sentence with struck is not quite right. If it said dated, it would be correct because the dated coins 65, 66, and 67 did not have mint marks and they were clad. All right, but there are still striking silver coins with mint marks, but were dated 64 all the way until 66. And while on this, I'm going to take a little tangent because if you know me, I love the Carson City stuff. And I've talked about this in a prior video in part 9 of the Carson City Stuff I Like series, where I talked about coin press number 1 and the history of coin press number 1 at the Carson City Mint. Well, in that video, and also in this video, I will remind you that from 1964 to 1967, the Mint director, Eva Adams, who was, by the way, a Nevadan, had the coin press number 1 sent to the Denver Mint because they were ramping up all this production. So coin press number one from Carson City Mint, um, originally the Carson City Mint was at the Denver Mint during this period where they were not uh, doing mint marks on the clad coinage of 65, 66, and 67, and we're still producing silver coinage dated or with a mint mark of Denver or D mint mark 64D was being produced all the way till 66. Now, we do know that the coin press number one produced about 188 million coins for the Denver Mint. So they're all Denver minted coins, 188 million. We know that about 60 million of those, that 188 million coins, were cents. So Lincoln cents with a D mint mark from any, who knows, it could be 65, 66, 67, because that's when the coin press number one was there. But also, it arrived in 64, and they are continuing to mint mark 90% silver all the way until 66. We also know, and I've talked to people at the Carson City Mint about this, that Carson City Mint press number one, coin press number one, was used for producing D mint mark 1964 D dimes, silver dimes, and had a good opportunity to produce quite a bit since it was running all the way until 66. So if you have a 1964 D silver dime, it's a possibility it was produced by coin press number one. If you have a 1965, 66, 67 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, that might have been produced by coin press number one as well. So sorry for that little tangent, but you know me, Carson City stuff, I have to do that. So bringing us back to the topic that the silver, 90% silver coinage dated 1964 with a mint mark was produced all the way to 66. So this statement in that article, out of the recent article in PCGS News on why you can't find mint marks on mid-60s US coins, this last sentence where it says struck is incorrect. There were US coins struck with a mint mark in 65 and even the early part of 66. There's 1964 coins, silver coins with mint marks. So it would have been better to write, never find a US coin dated from 65 through 67 with a mint mark. So thank you for watching. Thank you for letting me get that little one-word error off my chest, and hopefully along the way provide a little information. Remember, buy stuff you like, but be careful about what you buy. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.